to Simpler. We are three pastors, husbands, and fathers on a journey to make life simpler by holding Jesus as the core for every belief and practice. This journey has shaped us to be more like Christ, freed us from the shame of failure, and encouraged us to a deeper love of our Lord and God. We invite you to join us in the discussions that have shaped and continue to shape our lives.
So I had a really funny encounter at the lake a few weeks ago. Here running the disc golf course. My dog Rusty runs with me, which is awesome, but he's pretty good. But every once in a while something will like pop up where he'll take off for a second. So as an example, before I tell the actual story, we had just finished hole 3, we were running towards hole 4, and I see a skunk on the tee box of hole 4. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, oh no. And I'm like screaming at him, get over here. Like, cause I'm like, I don't want to, cause
it stinks so bad.
Yeah. The full day of cleanup. I wouldn't put him in my car. I would be anyways.
Yeah.
So he listened, but it was after he like kind of started to run after it. And so anyways, we're almost done with the round a few weeks ago. Hole 17 is the basket's kind of close to the road. On the other side of the road, sometimes there's people camping. It's never a problem. Well, we get to the basket hole 17. I'm actually looking for a disc. The grass is real high. They haven't mowed in a while. I'm looking for a disc. I can't find it in the middle of the fairway. And then I look up and Rusty's gone. I'm like, where's Rusty? And I start calling him and I see him across the street at this dude's campsite. And I could just see like the back of him. He's running around on the other side of the guy's car. And I'm like yelling at him, Rusty, get over here. And Rusty's a nice dog. Like he's not going to do anything. And I guess the dude had like a little like chihuahua or something. Anyway, so I finally get Rusty to come back to me and I'm still kind of like at a distance. I'm in the road and I just yelled at the guy, sorry about that. I was like, he's a nice dog. He's not mean. And he got real snooty. The old guy did. And he was like, that's why they got a leash law. And then Micah kicks in like that as I see his little dog running around without a leash on.
Yeah.
And I go, where's your leash?
Yeah.
Nice leash. And he just stared at me and then turned around and walked off. I want to be like, you stupid idiot. Like
you need to have your dog on a leash. Well, and is your dog on a leash?
And if that's when Cammy's like, I wish you had a shirt or something that said, please know what you're getting yourself into. Because luckily he turned around. Can you imagine if he had kept going? I would have demolished him. Like I understand it wasn't okay for my dog to run over. He didn't do anything to your dog.
Right.
Nothing happened.
But if that's going to be your argument,
then your dog better freaking be on a leash if you're going to come at me like that,
Yeah.
sucker. Anyways. And then I just stayed in the area for, that's the spite in me. I just stayed there for the next 5 minutes, just making it awkward for him.
Just wander around aimlessly.
It is.
Figure
His
8.
campsite.
Never breaking eye contact.
My dog will
He calls the police. There's a brown guy out here making menacing looks.
I wouldn't actually be shocked if he contacted the city about that.
Yeah.
I keep waiting for the day when they're going to come out and be like, hey, did this happen a few weeks ago? I'm going to let that old dude have it.
Yep.
We're not talking about letting old dudes have it today, Ryan.
Hey, speaking of old dudes, Ryan, what are we talking about today?
That was better.
Oh, man. Never mind. Today we're going to talk about expectations. I've called this the dangerous nature of expectations, and it is amazing how often when I'm doing counseling in any regard, so marriage, parenting, just like career, budget, whatever, it's amazing how much people are fighting against their expectations. And so really quick kind of summary of it is people will come to me, they're struggling in their marriage, and it's because one of them, if they're kind of a jerk, will be like about my spouse, they'll say, well, they're not doing this and they're not doing this and they're not adding to this part of the marriage or whatever. And so a lot of times people have expectations of their spouse that aren't in line with Christ. It's just personal expectations. So people tend to fall into categories, and you kind of learn your pattern with people. The three of us, people have asked us, I've been asked a couple of times in the last few months, like what I think makes us work smoothly together, the three of us for so long. And it's because we each stay in our lane. We know what we're good at. We do our thing, and then we all do our things together, And so that's just kind of happened over the years. We've learned that.
Yeah.
So Michelle's not the cook in our home. I'm the cook in our home. I have no expectation that she would cook. I don't care that she doesn't cook. I like to cook. Right. And so, but she has said to me before, like, I feel bad that I don't cook. Well, that's an expectation she has of herself that she's not meeting. And so it makes her feel bad. Right.
Yeah.
So the same kind of thing is if I was the kind of guy that was like, well, you're my wife, you stay home, you should cook. That would be an expectation that would create tension in our marriage because it's an unmet expectation that from my perception. Right.
In your marriage because Michelle doesn't cook.
If that was the case. Yeah. So Michelle doesn't cook, and if my attitude was, well, you're the wife, you're home, you should cook, then that's going to create tension there. But only because I'm having an expectation of my wife that's not a Christ-centered expectation. So one of the things that go ahead.
I think we need to shape that just as the beginning because like take, for example, a couple who that's not tension.
Right.
It's fine for them to have the expectation because it's not tension. You see what I'm saying? So like we need to lay some kind of foundation underneath that.
No, that's good. So here's what I will say. Let's temper it and say unmet expectations frequently cause friction. They don't have to. Michelle, to your point, whatever we're doing for dinner tonight, Michelle's not thinking about because she's expecting that I'm going to cook something. Yeah. Right. But it's also not, it's just those are the lines we've fallen into in the same way
that's a good point.
In the same way that I don't think at all. So we're doing the remodel at the church with the old building and doing some offices. And somebody asked me, well, what do you want? Or what are you thinking about all that? And I'm like, I don't have a single thought about it. Talk to Micah. I'm not in charge of it. Right. I'm not over anybody. I don't care. And
if there was something you wanted, you would say, like, can we get this?
Yeah. The one thing that I asked for was 2 floating bookshelves in my study area so that I can have a couple of books up there, right? That's it. That's what I want. And but I don't have expectations of it. So same with the new building. When it got finished, everybody was like, are you pleased with how it looks? And I'm like, yeah, but I didn't have any expectations. It didn't matter to me. It didn't bother me. And so I think frequently expectations come with baggage. And I think frequently it hurts relationships. And I think more often than not, we have expectations of ourselves that wound our own identity in Christ. And all of this, I think, is reconciled with a correct perspective of the things that really matter, Christ.
Yeah.
Right?
So your thought, like, or the premise is expectations outside of, well, maybe this is a question we could build on is like, there's got to be some positive in terms of expectations.
Totally.
And so like, what's the distinction in your mind between those two?
Yeah, I think, I think that, so like, for example, Asher just started driving. I did not realize how nervous I would be like the first few times that I sent him out, he's done really well. He's been driving for a year with me and he does really well. But there's a part of me that's like, when I'm in the car with him, when I was training him, I was like, okay, do you see this guy up here? Do you see how he's slowing down? He's about to come across you. Watch him. And I've been driving for 34 years. So part of it is like, I'm seeing all that.
Yeah.
And he's 16 and it's going to take some time for him to see all that. I'm not worried that he's reckless. I'm worried that like there are idiots out there. And I tell him every time he leaves the house, I was like, hey, remember other people are idiots. Don't be an idiot. If you're not an idiot, you'll be great. Yeah. Watch for the idiots, So there are expectations I have of him.
Yeah.
One of the things, because Michelle will track his location, like when he's headed to the deal. And we've asked him a couple of times, hey, just text us when you get there. Like, his first few times, text us when you get there. And he forgets every time. And so there's an expectation.
I feel you, Asher.
Like
I would never remember.
I was like, there's an expectation, text us.
Yeah.
Right. But that doesn't shape at all how we view him.
So it's that, for example, hey, text us when you get there, is an expectation within the confines of something that is an understood, like we're agreeing in this situation. Like
there's an agreement.
Asher's agreed. I'm driving. There's some confines of this. I'm underneath my parents. Yeah. There's an agreement, right? So or even like with little kids, I've told you, Riley, not to run in front of a 3/4 ton Chevy truck in the parking lot.
Right.
Yeah.
The expectation is, you're underneath me, you're my daughter, you obey that. You see what I'm saying? Like,
exactly.
I think that would be maybe like the clarification that would be good to talk about is because you're right. So much of the time our expectations that aren't in those kind of confines are things that wreck our lives personally and wreck relationships. And I think people probably need to hear the distinction between those two, positive, negative.
Yeah, I think that's great. And I think that like one of the things Christian people, and that's who our audience primarily is, right? So like a Christian husband has an expectation of himself, of what it looks like to be a good Christian husband.
Mm-hmm.
A Christian husband inevitably has an expectation of his wife of what it looks like to be a good Christian wife. The wife has those same, or has lists with those same titles.
Mm-hmm.
Hardly ever do those lists match up,
Mm-hmm.
right? So the wife is over here trying to do what she thinks it means to be a good wife. The husband's looking at his list of what it means to be a good wife, and he's like, why isn't she doing these things?
Mm-hmm.
And it creates tension. So where there is an agreement, where there's been a discussion ahead of time, I think that it goes a long way to alleviate that.
Yeah.
I think the three of us have learned that.
Sure.
Like where we've just said, hey, like you've said to me, like, do you want to be involved in this? And I'm like, no. And you're like, okay, then let me run with it. And I'm like, yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Like done. I don't want any part of it.
Like to that point, I don't ever show up on a Sunday morning and think, man, I wonder if Ryan's okay with preaching today.
Right. Yeah.
There's an expectation that he gets up and preaches. I don't have to ask you about that.
Right. Well, and here's what I thought was really cool about yesterday. I don't know if you caught it. I'm sure you did. But like, so yesterday, the scripture reference that I read was 1 Corinthians 15 about the resurrection. And then a key part of my sermon was about the resurrection of Christ. And you sang songs about the resurrection of Christ.
Not on purpose.
And we didn't communicate that to one another.
No.
And I love when God does those kinds of things.
Yeah.
But we trust each other to do, like, you're not calling me on Thursday and going, hey, how's your sermon prep going?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, can you imagine? Right? Like, so there is.
If I were you, I would quit if Micah ever did that. Well, I'll see you guys later.
To your point of the positive, we've worked together for 23 years. You expect I'm showing up ready to go.
Mm-hmm.
But that isn't anything like, that's not an unfair expectation you're holding or an unreasonable expectation you're holding.
There's an agreement we've had in terms of what we're doing. When we planted, just me and you years ago, there was an understanding of
this is the way it's going to
how it works, right? So now if let's put it on both of us. If you showed up on a Sunday and right before the service, you were like, which would never happen with you, but you were like, I don't really have anything to say today. Or if I showed up and I was like, I don't really have any songs memorized. I don't know what we're going to sing. In either of those cases, we would be like, right. There would be a problem.
Did you have a stroke?
There would be a problem. But so I think I don't know how we phrase that. Like there's an agreement that's happened.
Let's say this: unmet expectations that have not been like agreed upon are gonna cause problems.
Or is it? Or is it maybe? Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Is it more so the like unreasonable expectations? Or that might be a wrong word, but like expectations that shouldn't be there. So, for example, you're doing all of our student ministry and more, but like just in terms of the student ministry, Pierce, I don't like. We obviously trust you. You're part of the team. Like you wouldn't be an elder if we didn't trust you to just do it, right? I don't think there's any problem with us expecting you to do that role, right?
Yeah.
So, see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Now, if the expectation was, Pierce, you need to do student ministry as if Micah was doing student ministry, that could be problematic.
Right.
See, that's whatever. I don't know how to categorize that particular. I feel like that's kind of what you're getting at is
expectations that are also maybe intertwined with. I just had it. Expectations that are also intertwined with preference, like where
which is I think still just a category of like an unreasonable expectation.
Well, okay, let's start here because maybe this will be simpler. Let's start here. Individual expectations of oneself.
Okay. Yeah.
So, because then we don't have to think about a contract, a verbal or otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
So many people have expectations of themselves that aren't centered on Christ.
Mm-hmm.
The number of people that I talk to who are struggling with anxiety or depression or fear or whatever, almost every one of them has an unreasonable expectation of themselves that God doesn't require. Right? And they'll say, well, I should be better by now, or I shouldn't feel this way, or I shouldn't think this way, or I should be more successful in this area. And I kind of strip all that away and I go, okay. And I was talking to somebody recently who was like, they listed like 4 things they weren't pleased with.
Mm-hmm.
And then I said, okay, but do you know the Lord? Yes. Does your spouse know the Lord? Yes. Are you raising your kids to know the Lord? Yes. Is your home a happy home? Yes. And I was like, so would you throw away all that to have the other stuff? To have the like earthly, practical, tangible things? Or would you rather have the spiritual things going well? They're like, I'd rather have the spiritual things. I was like, great. Then let that be what your expectations are aligned with. Like, let your expectations be aligned with Christ. I had a guy recently pick me up, and we went and had lunch, and I'm positive his very nice vehicle, like it was a company vehicle, but like I'm sure that it costs more than what I make in a year. It's not. I mean, it's a company vehicle, but I'm sitting there and I'm like, man, like, I am just not a man. I'm just not successful. Like these are the thoughts going through my head. Meanwhile, the guy is like, man, like, I just want you to know how much I've been learning. Like, I feel like I'm seeing the Bible more clearly. Like, I just want to keep learning. And I'm going, okay, that's what I bring to the table, right? Like, so here I am trying to I'm looking at this dude's life and how successful he is and like all the cool things that he's able to do. And I am putting that expectation on myself. And it's not the right expectation. I'm not him. And I'm where I'm supposed to be, and I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, and it's okay. Like, we have been in our house by the church for 6 years in October, and the baseboards in the bathrooms are still not there.
Which I said when I was done, I was like, these are all on you.
I know. And you're like, these are really easy. You got them? And I'm like, yeah. And here we are 6 years later. And I jokingly told Michelle even this morning, I was like, I'm going to get you a temporary husband for like a month who can get the garage in order, get the baseboards in place, you know.
We need to do your dishwasher.
Yeah. Like replace the dishwasher, you know, like that.
We need to do that soon.
But I was just kind of sharing those things, and like she laughs and she goes, no, I'm good. But we tend to do that, right? We tend to hold ourselves to expectations that Christ doesn't hold us to. We compare ourselves to other people's success or other people's things. And
it's a standard that's not Jesus.
It's a standard that's not Christ. And then what it ends up doing is it makes you feel crappy all the time.
Yeah.
And so my buddy who took me to lunch the other day, I've gotten to know him and his family pretty well over the last few months. I love them. Like, I adore them as people. And he's not coming trying to compete with me. So why do I feel in my head sometimes like, man, I just wish I was as cool as him? You know,
it's a dependence on self.
Right. And so what we have to do is I got in his truck and immediately felt little, but shut up. But he's wanting to have lunch with me because he appreciates me.
Yeah.
And so I need to quit comparing myself to.
Well, isn't that still a comparison?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you're still weighing it, like almost like there's value still there.
Instead of just being friends.
Yeah. And I think it's because it's our tendency in general.
Yeah.
I think it's because the measure isn't Jesus.
Yeah.
So I think this is not a different conversation than anxiety and depression in terms of the core. So here's what I mean.
Sure.
If my value actually rests in Jesus, I don't compare myself to other people.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think most of us have a tendency to do it because we're seeing pieces of our life where we're not actually valuing Jesus above everything else.
Yeah.
And I think this is an example. I mean, I feel what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Like, there's this sense of where you almost have to say something to make yourself feel like you have a value in a situation.
Yeah. Well, I went to a funeral the other day, and the son talking about his adult father who had died, right? Adult son talking about his father who had died. He said, man, like, I still remember fondly the countless hours throwing the baseball out in the yard. I still remember fondly one-on-one basketball games with my dad. And he's reflecting back on his childhood 50 years earlier, right? And and my very first thought was, I got to throw the ball with my boys more. You know what I mean? But
you do.
Right. But my point being, but I do need to throw it more with them.
No, sorry.
I'm just kidding. Micah's like, yeah, you do. No, but my point being, it's not okay for me to put those expectations on myself. Like, the aim, and you drill down to the depth of what they were talking about at the funeral, is this was a man who loved his wife, who loved the Lord, who loved his kids. And I'm at my house loving my wife, loving the Lord, loving my kids. It looks different.
Yeah.
And when we put expectations on ourselves that aren't based in Jesus, we're going to often feel sucky. We're just going to feel really crappy because we're going to be like what we tend to do, the grass is greener on the other side kind of language. What we tend to do is we tend to look at everybody else's successes, compare them to our failures.
Yeah.
And then we feel like crap. Instead of going, look, man, celebrating those other people's successes, walking in who Christ has made me to be.
Is it expectations built on comparisons? Is that what we're trying to get at?
I think that's part of it. Yeah, I definitely think that's part of it.
Because I'm with you on the premise of this. I think I'm trying to like hone in what it is exactly.
Because you're right. There are expectations that are had that don't create tension. But again, so Michelle, I was talking with somebody yesterday about the importance of context. We were talking for a few minutes after church. And I said, there's about 5 times a week, if you just walked past Michelle and me and just were able to eavesdrop, you would hear me say about 5 times a week, golly, I hate you. And I would say it like that to Michelle. But it's because she just beat my butt at a game, or she just and we're so comfortable in there's
levity in your relationship because of the relationship.
Yeah. We trust each other completely, right? So like she has never once thought that when I say I hate her, that I actually hate her. And so she hates me about 5 times a week when I win or something, you know? And it's funny for us, but we don't say it like with ha, 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 ha. We're like, oh gosh, I hate you. And it has like, if you just caught that piece, you'd be like, what in the heck is going on? And so it's funny because we're so comfortable with each other that we don't, the expectations don't create any tension. Like I expect, like Michelle always does the laundry, and I feel like really unfair to her because now I'm having her wash my gis as well for like jujitsu.
Gross.
I know. It's gross. But I'm creating extra laundry for her because I only wear it once because you sweat in it and you had like, it's gross, right? And so I wear it once. How many
do you have?
3. And one for each day that I go each week.
Those are kind of expensive, aren't they?
Yes. I traded for one of them though.
Okay.
So I traded art prints. Yeah.
That has used gi.
Somebody else sweater.
No, but like
somebody else got mounted.
And it was weird because I was like, I'll start washing them. You know, you don't have to do that. And she goes, why? She goes, I don't care. And so like my expectation is she's going to be mad at me because I'm asking her to do this thing. Like, and because we're comfortable with each other, she's like, no, like I'm not mad at her that I'm cooking dinner tonight because I enjoy cooking dinner. Yeah. You know? And so there's something in it though. Like, I see this a lot with young moms. There are so many young moms that beat the crap out of themselves because they think they're comparing themselves to social media moms. Yeah. And they think, man, I'm not like that. And I'm like, they're not like that. That's fake. You know, like all that's pretend. And they're like, yeah, I remember honestly, it was my sister Haley who, when Asher had just been born, one of the things that she told Michelle that was super helpful and that I've repeated to moms since then, new moms since then, is Haley just told Michelle, she was just like, it's okay if you don't make it out of your pajamas till noon. Like you sleep when the baby sleeps. It's okay if there's like, these first few months, you're not getting rest. So you're surviving and you're helping this baby survive and just get through it. You'll be okay. But people have these expectations. Oh, I got to get my hair done and I got to do these things. And no, you don't. Like none of that's Jesus. And so there are things like, hey, son, let me know when you got there. Let me know when you're safe. Like there's an expectation, like your mom and I aren't used to you driving yet. Just shoot me a text.
Maybe the filter I'm looking for in this conversation is maybe for us figuring out how to value expectations. So as a believer, if my value rests in Jesus, now I can have expectations that don't have anything to do with Jesus. Yeah. That don't wreck me. So here's an example, a positive example. Go. I overheard Sunday Stephen saying that Jayden had run 12 miles. Yeah, right? Crazy. So for the majority of us, that's crazy.
That is crazy.
Maybe for Jayden, that's the expectation. You see what I'm saying? His expectation is much higher in his fitness because it's Jayden. Right. Right. He's got like negative 10% body fat. And, you know, so but see, that's not a negative expectation for him in terms of fitness because his value
for him to have of himself.
If his value doesn't rest in that, but in Jesus, it allows him maybe the opportunity to create expectations for fitness in a way that doesn't kill him if he doesn't meet it and doesn't create a situation where everybody else feels less. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
absolutely. Because I don't think the issue is expectations. I think the issue is how we're using the expectations.
I would agree still with an asterisk. I think that there are some people. Here's what I would say:
this is smoke and lights.
The people who are using their expectations of other people to constantly be condemning.
Yeah, but it's
critical.
not the expectation's fault. It's that person's fault.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Is like they're using a metric that's not Christ. And
I'm talking even like out. I'm trying to. I don't know if you could say a fitness expectation has anything to do with Jesus.
Only if you find your identity in it.
That's why I'm setting the premise, right?
Yeah.
So it's not the actual expectation's fault that someone uses it positively or negatively is what I'm getting at.
Okay. The expectation to be fit.
Yeah, that's why I say it's smoke and lights. It's not the smoke and lights fault that someone uses it in a positive way or negative way. You can't say I hate smoke and lights. You can say I hate how smoke and lights are used in these scenarios.
Sure.
This is what it feels like to me. It's not the expectation's the problem. It's how the expectation is used. Because if someone doesn't find their value in Jesus, it's probably always going to be negative in how the expectation's used.
And if it's not your exercise, it's going to be something else. It's going to be how you look, or it's going to be how much you know, or how much you read, or how much whatever.
Let's put Jaden, for example, since he's already in the picture.
Yeah.
If Jaden doesn't actually find his worth in Jesus, then there's going to be this weird expectation in his own life that he creates for himself that his value is actually resting in his fitness.
Right.
That's not a good place to be.
Right.
But it's not the expectation's fault. It's his fault for not valuing correctly who he is in Christ. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Let's say he does value himself in Christ. My value rests completely in Jesus. Now he can set fitness expectations without them having a negative impact on his life.
And whether he runs 12 miles today or tomorrow doesn't run at all.
Right.
Is irrelevant.
Let's say he plans to run 12 miles a day and he only runs 10 one day. His expectation is still that he runs 12.
Right.
And it's going to push him. Dang it, I got to get back on this. But it doesn't affect his worth or his value. I think that's kind of what we're after, right?
Yeah. Well, it's I think when you get into like the interpersonal relationships, so one of the things that I'm trying to keep in my head is I've been doing a lot more counseling with people lately. And I have found that I frequently have an expectation that people will get it faster than they're getting it. Like that it'll click more quickly. Like I want to see them whole. I want to see things move forward. And I'm having to remind myself that like, it's not fair for me to expect them to get it more quickly. It's my job to shape Jesus for them,
right?
To put them, and then Christ is doing his work in them, right? Like the change will happen. But I think it's unfair for, also like people are unique. And the things that we enjoy, the things that we think about, the things that we like, it's unfair for me to expect you to think the way I think or vice versa, right, Micah?
Yep.
Like you, and so you and I have learned through the years language that helps us interpret one another.
Yeah, because we think very differently.
Yeah. And so now we have language where one of the things that you said to me is, Ryan, you're in your box again. So when I get stuck in a thought, right? There's a book I read that called it the Yukon trap, because in the gold rush in the Yukon, people would go in, and if they got lucky and found a piece of gold on their first day, they would spend all of their money in that one spot saying, there's got to be more here. Instead of, if you had gone there and didn't find any gold for 3 days, you'd go and try a new place, and then you go try a new place. And so even 3 days later, when they hadn't found anything else, because they found it their first try, they're stuck. And so I get stuck in the Yukon trap all the time.
That's interesting.
And I have to,
not that you're stuck, but that it's called the Yukon trap.
And so I have to train myself to do that. And having a friend like you who goes, Ryan, you're stuck in the box.
It's you being willing to say, this is my tendency.
Right. And so, but it's also, you're not expecting me to think the way you think. You're understanding how I think. And now we've developed language where you can pull me out of that pretty quickly, because I'm like, oh, right. I'm stuck.
So really it's when expectations move outside of myself being the standard, that is probably okay. You know what I'm saying? Like if the expectation is measured by me,
right,
then it's probably always going to create negative.
If you always approach me like, why aren't you thinking like I'm thinking? Then there would always be tension between us.
Because it would never, you could never, like physically, you can't do that.
No,
I can't think like you.
And there is a reasonable expectation that 3 friends should be able to communicate clearly.
Yeah.
That's a reasonable expectation.
Yeah.
And we can have that expectation. What we can't do is expect that we're going to communicate to each other the same way.
Yeah.
And so there was something, I don't remember what it was, Pierce, but there was something 6-8 months ago where I texted you, and then you just called me and you said, "Hey, I didn't figure you were being mean in this text, but I wanted to make sure that you weren't actually mad at me and whatever." So I don't know. I don't even remember what it was.
I don't remember either.
Whatever it was I communicated in that text, you had an expectation. You're like, "Oh, crud, he's mad at me." Now, instead of just going, "He's mad at me," you called me.
Yeah.
Because we know each other really well.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh gosh, no, not at all."
Yeah.
Like, because we tend to read text in the tone that our brains are wired in, or if you're in a bad mood, or if
I could have been tired that day.
Whatever it is. And so instead of, I think you hit it on the head. The expectation cannot be shaped by my preferences. It has to be shaped by, if it's interpersonal, it has to be shaped with the aim of us. Like,
it's relationship.
You're a fellow believer in Christ, Pierce, and it has to be shaped on that. A husband and wife, this is my wife who I'm supposed to love like Christ loved the church. Okay. And so it has to be, this is to make us more efficient rather than I want to make you more. It is not trying to create somebody in my own image.
Yes.
And so the problem with self is we're comparing ourselves to other people, trying to, this is what it is. You're trying to shape yourself in their image, and you're unhappy with yourself because you don't match their image, instead of letting Christ be the standard in all of it.
And that, I was about to say, I think that's it. So if Jesus is the standard of my value and worth because of what he's done, not what I've done, now I'm his.
Yeah.
I think underneath that, there are some New Testament concepts that we could say, here are some, if you will, base level expectations for life. Husbands, love your wife like Christ loves the church. Wives, submit to your husbands. Children, obey your parents. Parents, do not exasperate your children, which my wife reminds me of all the time. So
all back to chapter 5, talking about the
to one another out of reverence for
and
Christ.
how the church is supposed to fellowship with one another and serve one another.
I was going to say that. So there's some base level things you mentioned earlier, like as believers, not you and Pierce, not even as you guys working together as pastors, but as believers, there should be this expectation that we function in relationship together, whether we agree or not. There's a cohesiveness in the relationship for the glory of Jesus. So there's some base level things that I think you could apply to as a believer, to any relationship situation that now should shape how you view your expectations.
Okay, so here's a question, and I mean it legitimately. It's not rhetorical. Is it possible then that when an unmet expectation causes tension, it could be an indication we're using ourselves as the standard? Because if the expectation is Christ, then my aim for that person, even if they're coming along more slowly and I'm trying to draw them into the things of Jesus, my expectation for them is just like, come on, like I'm excited about the little bit, right? Like
it could be.
It creates care instead of division.
Except in maybe agreed situations, like if Asher never texts you ever.
Yeah.
And you've asked him every single time,
then he doesn't get to drive anymore.
See what I'm saying? Like that's not you putting your personal
right. So with the exception maybe of agreed upon things.
Yeah.
Because I have, back to what you said earlier, there is an expectation that, Micah, you're going to show up and you're going to lead worship on Sundays. At the church. That's an expectation. Pierce, you're going to show up and you're going to punch the stuff into the computer and do whatever you do. You know, and I'm going to show up and preach, and like that doesn't cause any tension. There's no like, it's just, we just do it. If you quit showing up,
that's a good point. If one of us just doesn't show up, well, actually, if one of us doesn't show up, we would know something's wrong.
Something's seriously wrong.
Yeah.
But if you continue to not show up,
it's different. Yeah.
Then there's something wrong. Like that's an indication. Like
there is an expectation that you do the role, right?
Right.
Which is maybe a good way to really say it, like you said, is there's an agreed upon.
Yeah.
Even if it's not like a contractual thing or a job thing, like in your situation with cooking, Michelle expects you to cook not in a negative way.
No.
Because that's what it is. There's no contractor, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, but probably once about every 6 months, she'll say, I should cook more. In the same way that I'm like, I should be able to fix things around the house more.
I was going to say, I bet that's not an expectation from you, though.
It is not.
It
not
is
at all.
her seeing the cultural viewpoint of
isn't based on Christ. She's comparing herself to somebody else. She's using something other than Christ as the standard or the metric.
So let me give some practical thoughts. I think maybe the best way to remedy some of these situations where there's tension with expectations is to have a conversation about what those expectations are.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Because then I think a couple things happen. One, you're actually open and honest. Like maybe the person you're in a relationship with and whatever the relationship situation is doesn't know there's an expectation.
Yeah,
Sure.
exactly.
And then there's also a possibility, second thing, that your expectation is bogus and then it's revealed as you say it.
Exactly.
Yeah. you're like, oh crap. You know what? Never mind.
As you're talking.
But if it's, I think the problem comes in when it's not stated.
I'll give you a great example that you've used on the podcast multiple times, but years ago when you were leading worship for your dad's church and there was a person in the finance meeting or whatever who was mad that you got paid, whatever it was that you got paid because...
Thank God she's dead now.
Ouch. But you were like, she was mad that you got paid, whatever, because you weren't putting in the time that she thought you needed to put in. Like, if people asked me how long it takes me to write a sermon, I don't know if they would like me or hate me.
It's a stupid question.
Yeah.
Because it is based on somebody else's viewpoint of work.
Right.
So what you don't calculate, because it doesn't take you long to write a sermon.
Don't tell anybody.
It doesn't. In terms of that
I'll
week's
bleep it
prep,
out.
right? What you don't calculate is the amount of years put into that. So for example, if you didn't have the years of study,
right,
and the years of investment in the scripture and the years of preaching, it might take you 25 to 30 hours a week to prep a sermon. And someone might go, wow, look how hard Ryan is working at this.
Right.
Props to him. Or you could be really good at it because of prepping, because of all the years of so like it's a dumb measure because
it's an unfair expectation.
Which what I said to in the midst of that conversation with a lady back in the day, because someone asked me like, well, can you tell us how many hours a week you spend? And I said, no, I'm not going to tell you that. I was like, it's a stupid question. I was like, why is it, if I'm good at it?
Yeah, why am I getting punished?
If it takes me 3 hours to do the same thing, it takes somebody 30 hours to do, why do I get punished? Because I'm good at it and they suck. Like, explain that to me. Like, it's a dumb...
Yeah.
But here's, to your point, there's this weird expectation people have that amount of effort put in equals quality.
Right.
Or equals value. And that's a dumb perspective.
Yeah. Well, and it
takes Usain Bolt a lot less time to run the 100 than everybody else.
Right.
He shouldn't get penalized because he's better at it.
Right. Sorry, you were really fast, so we're going to give you the silver instead.
Yeah, that's right. They worked way harder than you.
Yeah. Did you see how hard they were sweating?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a good point, right? What if someone trains 4 times as much as he does and still loses?
Yeah. We give it to the guy that works the hardest.
Right. It's so stupid.
Yeah. Well, it's
I will say, if anybody has that expectation ever, you're an idiot.
Well, and to your point, like there is, I don't know, people are thinking about it in terms of like what they would do.
Yes.
Right. It's attributed, it's attributed to several different artists. So I don't actually know if it's a true story, and I don't actually know if it is a true story, which artist it's rightly attributed to. But there's a story of a gentleman sitting down with like Picasso or something at a bar and says, "You're Picasso," and he's like, "Yes," and he goes, "Paint me something." Or draw me something on this bar napkin. So he draws him something and hands it to him. He's like, "That's $10,000. And the guy goes, "What?" And he goes, "It took you 5 minutes." He goes, "Right." And he goes, "It took me 30 years to do that in 5 minutes."
Mm-hmm.
You know?
It's a great statement.
And so he's like, so 10 grand if you want that bar napkin, you know? And the guy was like, "What?" And he was like, 30 years to be able to do this in 5 minutes. He goes, "You came and you sat down next to me and asked me to draw something."
Yeah.
Like, I still don't like it.
Yeah.
Because what if it was 1 year?
Right.
What if it was 1 day?
But also the point in that story is you sat down next to Picasso or whoever the artist was.
That's it.
You didn't go sit down next to some scrub and say, "Draw me something."
Right.
Mm-hmm. Like there was an expectation because of this person.
It's a value system.
Right.
Yeah. If let's take it into like relationships. If as a husband, my value rests in how I think people perceive my family outside of my family, that's going to be problematic.
Yeah.
Because now I'm going to put unneeded expectation on my wife and my kids to be a certain way.
Yeah.
I need them to look like all the Instagram people.
Well, and it's exhausting to try to appease everybody else's expectations.
Yeah.
Instead of just living for Christ.
Well, and nobody's the same.
No.
Right. You might be a fitness guru.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And there's probably somebody more fit than you.
Yeah.
Or better at the thing. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like okay, Usain Bolt, using him as an example again, somebody's gonna start beating him. I mean, he's retired now, but like his times.
Yeah.
Right. So it's rarely is there. I mean, there's gonna be a Jack Nicklaus who has so many majors that it's gonna be hard for anybody to keep up, right? But like that's a very unique situation. Sure. So why do we think? Well, I'm gonna be like everybody else. I'm gonna get in this guy's truck and feel. I'm so glad you shared that, because it's transparent. It is you being honest about, in that moment, saying, I'm not actually valuing myself in Jesus. Like, there's something outside of Jesus I'm trying to value myself by.
We just bought Michelle a $4,000 car from a buddy of ours, and we're trading art and cash for a car. And I'm sitting here going, man, like we have like friends who they just bought their 16-year-old a Cadillac, and it's like, and there's a little part of you that goes, that will never be me, like.
Well, it depends on how old the Cadillac is.
That's true. There you go. Yeah. But it's one of those things that, like, you've heard the old saying.
Lincoln.
Yeah.
I did, man.
The very old saying.
I won't tell you what year.
That comparison is the thief of joy.
Yeah.
And so, like, 100%. So when you have these expectations that you have to be like everybody else, and it's so sad, the number of people who will sit down with me and we're talking and I'm trying to help them, trying to serve them, and they don't like themselves, not because of how Christ views them, but either because of how they view themselves, how somebody important in their life tore them down over and over again, or how they perceive they're measuring up with other people. So it's one of those three things. I don't like myself because I just don't think I'm good at this, or I think I'm awkward. Yeah. Usually that comes from outside sources. I don't know people who don't like themselves just because. Usually somebody has told them they're not worthy.
There's a reason that they think that.
But I'll tell you something that happened like a year ago that kind of surprised me. And it kind of kicked me in the butt. And I hadn't thought about it in a really long time until a few days ago. And I was like, I need to think more on this. But I couldn't tell you what the situation was. But there was something that I was addressing to Asher. And I didn't like his response or whatever. And I addressed his response, and told him, like, you can't have that kind of attitude. I don't remember what it was, but we have talks about everything. And so it's just one of those talks.
Was it texting when he got to the school?
No, this was like a year or so ago. This is before he was doing that. But whatever it was, I came back to him the next day and I was like, man, you didn't even apologize to me about that. And Asher said something that kind of shocked me, and it made me go, oh, you're growing up in a different home than I grew up in. And Asher goes, I thought we were good. Like I had had a hard talk with him, but it wasn't a mean talk.
Yeah.
And he understood what I was saying. He goes, yeah, okay, that makes sense. And it was done. And he was like, I know
your expectation was from your past.
Right. Yeah. And so,
like, it still needed to be reconciled.
From his perspective, he's like,
it was good.
Dad and I are fine. He told me, and I agree. Like from his perspective, we were good. And I was being petty because he didn't come back into my room later and apologize to me. And I thought, how telling that he feels comfortable enough in our house that the few times that I'm having to correct something in him, he goes, yeah okay.
What's funny is you've mentioned that you feel that way. It's funny you feel that way because you've mentioned multiple times about how your dad used to come in and apologize to you and how it meant nothing.
It meant nothing. Because he would come in and say,
somehow,
I know.
I'm pointing out because I think a lot of people have these experiences from the past, how something that you've spoken of in a negative way somehow crept itself into your mind as an expectation for relationships.
Yeah. Well, you flip it. My youngest son, Riker, apologizes for everything. And like everything. And I'm like, dude, you don't need to apologize for that. Like, and it's not just polite stuff like when you bump into each other in the hall, he goes, oh, sorry. It's not like that. He'll say, Dad, can you make a milkshake for me? I'm like, I can in a few minutes. He goes, oh, okay, sorry. and I'm like, you don't have to be sorry, dude. I'm happy to make you a milkshake. I make the best milkshakes in the house. I'm the milkshake guy, right? Like, you don't have to be sorry about that. And so trying to help him see that he doesn't have to apologize for everything. And then my other son recognizing he doesn't feel like there's any tension between us. So he's like, we're good. Like, I responded in a way I shouldn't respond. Dad told me that. I was like, cool. Because I don't come in yelling at him. I say, hey, listen, just think about your response on that, because sometimes it sounds like this and you might want to do that. Like, I'm correcting it in him, right? In my home, if you didn't like it was change your attitude now or you're going to get spanked, quit crying or I'm going to give you something to cry about. Do this now, do this. I know it's one of the dumbest things ever. Okay, now I'm even more scared. You're going to wail on me for wailing? Like, come on. But it was eggshells all the time in my house, just walking on eggshells all the time, right? Like there was always tension in my home growing up. And I'm realizing that at least for one of my sons, that's not the case. He feels comfortable. And so,
can you talk about that for a second? I know we're like,
no, we're fine.
No, we're good.
I'm interested from your perspective. Pierce, you can actually jump in on this too.
If you want to.
Here's how
cool us off a little bit.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Here's a question
I
that
grabbed the wrong remote or something.
I think is unique to my personality type. That I know is like the majority of people are not this way. I get into somebody's truck that's really nice. I can't think of very many times, it probably has happened, where I'm like, wow, I feel less. I'm like, dude, this truck is epic.
Yeah.
Right. And I like cars.
That's part of it for you. You're a car guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been into people's houses where I'm like, this is epic. And it doesn't make me feel less. What my personality type it does, and maybe it's partly because of the house I grew up in, it almost like drives me.
Yeah.
Like I'm like,
okay, what crypto can I
exactly
flip right now?
Right?
What can I do to do?
And I know that's not the case for most people. So I'd love for you guys to chime in, because I actually think that's maybe partly personality, but maybe it's more than I think. The fact that there's not a bunch of negative stuff in my head that is keeping me from thinking about those things in a positive way.
Right.
Those things don't typically impact me negatively.
Right.
I don't think I've ever thought, man, I wonder what people think about us as a family.
Yeah.
Well, that's not true. Sometimes I've thought, man, they probably think Mike is way too harsh, like with old men at the lake with their little dogs. Like, you know what I mean? Like those thoughts run through my head.
Put your chihuahua on a leash.
But do you guys think that's legit? Like, is your tendencies going to be more so than me to get into a truck or go into someone's house and or see someone who is remodeling and feel like you're less of a man? You've mentioned that before.
Yeah.
Do you think that's because of how much you were battered as a kid in terms of your dad saying you're not a man, you're not a man?
Absolutely part of it, right? Like that's part of it. Part of it for me is being told I was stupid a lot. And then when I dropped out of college and then started doing ministry, people would tell me, "Oh, you'll be a good pastor one day if you ever get educated," and like
I'm still waiting.
No, I'm still not educated. One day, man, one day. But yeah, my dad like regularly let me know that I wasn't tough enough, that I wasn't man enough. And I'm the skinny guy. I was always the weakest kid. I was always the smallest kid. I started off my sophomore year in high school. I was still 5'2", the beginning of my sophomore year of high school. Weighed 90 pounds, had size 12 feet. And
that's why your dad battered you, because he's like, man, that kid's feet are way bigger than mine.
Oh, man. My dad had foot envy.
These guys are coming to my house with bigger feet. Come on.
Yeah. Comes home and he's asking my mom, what man is,
Yeah. He saw the footprints in the snow. Who's here?
There's a giant here. Yeah. I know we've talked about this a lot lately, but my dad had notoriously small feet. He was nearly 6 foot tall and had size 7.5 feet. Just
so everybody gets the reference, we should probably put like a sign right here.
Can we get a bobblehead?
Dan Dalgliesh had small feet. Yeah. Or just put his shoes right here. Little bit.
Why do they have baby shoes?
Like Ryan's dad's shoes. It's just a pair of baby shoes.
But my sixth grader, Hayes,
is bigger than that.
Cammy's mom took him to the store to get shoes for school, and he had like 7.5.
Yeah, that's
size shoes.
But it's just, and I think I've compared myself to a lot of people always, you know,
which I think is natural.
Yeah, and
positive or negative. There's
agreed. I just think for me, I have spent a lot of my life feeling the need to prove myself. I don't feel that as much anymore.
Yeah.
I can't say that it never crosses my mind anymore.
So maybe that's the question I'm after,
like,
is like, what's that trigger? What's the switch?
So for me, like getting into the guy's truck the other day, it was a fleeting thought. Whereas
you're not resting in it.
No, because I'm sitting here going, like, I am who I am in Christ, right? Like I place value in here's the thing. I have learned to place value in the things that last forever. And so it's easier for me now than it used to be to shrug off the expectations that there's not very much that I'm good at. There's a handful of things that I'm really good at. Mm-hmm. And instead of spending my whole life going, man, why aren't I good at this? Why aren't I good? Like, I love sitting down.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay.
Yeah. I love.
Which is most people.
Yeah. Right. Most people have a few things they're excellent in.
Yeah.
My tendency has been to look at all the things I suck in and and
which
hold myself to that standard.
Also the natural thing to do.
And so, like, I enjoy being a reader. I enjoy writing. I enjoy thinking through things. I enjoy. My son Asher asked me the other day. He goes, he had an opportunity for his dual credit class to take a psychology class, and there was another class he wanted this semester, and they were both only offered this semester, so he picked the other class. And he goes, but can I get a couple of books on that or whatever? And I was like, well, what's your aim? And I was like, I wasn't being discouraging. I was super excited. And I was like, well, what's your aim? Are you wanting to be able to help people through things? Are you wanting to understand how the mind works? Are you wanting to understand how we think better? I was like, ooh, man, I have so many books on how the brain works. And I was like, let's figure it out. What's your aim? Well, and I get really excited. He's not coming to me going, how do I fix my car? I'm like, oh, you're gonna have to talk to your Uncle Jared about that. You know what I mean? And so I've come to the place now where this is really important. I've come to the place now where I'm comfortable with my strengths, but I can't let my strengths be my standard either. Mm-hmm. Because we've talked about this. I don't know if you remember this, Mike. It was just in passing, but you said months ago, and you've said it a few times, and it's correct. You're never going to be the guy that's losing the argument. You're just not. Like
me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you're wrong about something, you're quick to see that if somebody else brings the evidence and goes, hey, but most of the time you're not, you see it, you see the whole picture. Mm-hmm. And you've said, man, I'm just really confident. You're not going to be able to break my confidence. And I tend towards insecure, right? And one of the things that's interesting is my insecurity is how I view myself rather than how I view myself through Christ. Mm-hmm. The flip of that is your confidence can be just as bad if your confidence is based on how you view yourself rather than confidence in Christ. Yeah. And so either one of those, like, so
it's the same problem.
If I'm looking at the 97 things I'm not good at and comparing myself to the people who are good at that, I'm always going to hate myself. Mm-hmm. If I'm only looking at the 3 things I'm excellent in and building all of my ego based on that also sucks. Yeah. Because now I'm looking at everybody else like, oh, I can't believe you don't know this, or I can't believe you don't do this or whatever, instead of like resting in Jesus. Like, it has to be grounded in Christ. You have a thought, go.
I wonder if this is all wrapped around discontentment. So if I am completely content in who I am in Christ, in what I've, not just who I am, but what I've gained. So now I'm a child of God. I'm part of the house of God. I have an inheritance in the kingdom of God. Let's put it in a practical sense. If crypto goes insane and I have $100 million in crypto, I'm probably not freaking out about the transmission that goes out in the car.
No.
Right? Discontentment comes because in terms of like transmission, because I don't have the money to pay for it. Sorry, discontentment's the wrong word. The pressure comes, the anxiety comes. I was trying to make like a financial perspective. I'm part of the kingdom of Jesus. I have an inheritance in the kingdom. I'm part of the church, which is his betrothed, going to be his bride. Like what can the world do to me? If that's where my contentment lies, I'm probably not freaking out over, man, Ryan, I thought you were supposed to cook dinner tonight. That was the expectation. I'm probably not freaking out over, man, Asher, you were supposed to apologize to me. You see what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't mean you don't have the conversations, but I wonder if you approach them differently if your contentment actually lies in Jesus. One of the most genius things I've ever heard, our very first semester of doing financial peace, I won't mention who it was, this lady we did this 1 minute takeaway after every video, and they'll say, what's the one thing that stood out to you? And she goes, I need to learn to be content.
Mm-hmm.
She was in a, like,
are you doing that again this semester?
Yeah. Good. Working through some financial stuff. Like, she wasn't in a phenomenal position. It's not terrible, but not, and that was her take. And I thought, that's so genius, because it doesn't matter if you're struggling financially or doing really well. It's to your point about insecurity or confidence. If my contentment doesn't lie in Jesus, now expectations are going to take over, because I'm actually trying to strive for something that I can't get. I'm trying to find contentment in a way that is never going to happen.
Yeah.
But if I go, I actually am content in who I am in Christ, now I can have these, if you will, positive expectations and relationships that are shaped, to your point earlier, which I think you're right. They are all shaped through Jesus as a believer, because if my contentment and value lies in Jesus, now my expectations will be shaped by that.
Yeah.
So it's going to get rid of the negative expectations, and the positive expectations won't shape me in terms of my value.
Yeah. Well, Kirkland just turned 50. His wife and his daughter both shared posts on his birthday. Happy birthday, Kirkland, all this stuff. And they both commented on, like, look at this man who's 50. Look at what great shape he is. They said a whole bunch of nice things. What I caught on was, every time I stand next to Kirkland, I'm going to look like the scrawny kid in 7th grade. The dude is in great shape at 50. He's an athlete. He's always been an athlete.
Yeah.
I've never been an athlete. If every encounter I have with Kirkland,
you should see him do jumps on the ski slope.
I bet.
I'm joking.
No, is that where he tore his muscle?
I don't know. I've never seen it either.
But if every time I hang out with Kirkland, that's what I'm thinking about. I'm comparing myself to him in terms of the physicality. I don't ever get to enjoy Kirkland.
Yeah.
Like, I don't ever get to just be his brother in Christ.
Nor is that his expectation for you.
Right.
Yeah.
And so when we can eliminate these expectations, this discontentment that's not based in Jesus, I think we finally get to enjoy the people around us.
Yes. Because if not, you're always going to try to one up it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, Kevin's more fit than me, but I can do this better than Kevin. Like,
why
is
it's
that's
a comparison?
A stupid thought.
It's terrible.
If my contentment lies in Jesus,
and then I don't actually care about him.
No, I don't. Well, I mean, you care about Kevin, but you don't care about.
But my point is, if I'm constantly comparing myself to him or him to me and going like, look, here's where I'm winning, here's where I'm losing.
Yes.
That's not care for my friend Kevin.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a contest. Yeah, it's ego.
Yeah.
And so when we have these unfair expectations of other people or of ourselves around other people, it prevents us from being able to really love them the way Christ would love them. Like Christ, who at the end of his life, as he's washing the disciples' feet, says, I'm your master and I'm here as your servant.
Yeah.
So he made himself the lowest. He did not have the expectation, I'm your master and you better serve me. He had the expectation, I'm the master and I'm going to serve you. Go and do likewise. And so if I make myself the servant of the people around me and quit putting on them my expectations, and if I approach them the way Christ approached the earth, right, approached mankind, then I am able to love them freely and enjoy them and delight in them. I'm more patient with them because I'm bringing them along. It's Jesus on the side of the hill as he walks into Jerusalem that first night of his last week of life. And he says, Jerusalem, Jerusalem, how long to gather you. There's compassion there in his voice.
Yeah.
And it's like, it brings me to the place. So maybe a counter, I'm not going to say the, but maybe a counter to unjust expectations of self or others is this like servanthood, this kind of care for people. Like, I just want to, like, so I don't ever think, I have never counted how many dinners I've cooked because I enjoy cooking and I'm just serving my family.
That's actually kind of shocking.
It is, right? That's what I was thinking.
I just figured he counts everything.
Exactly.
I count a lot of things.
To your point, I think one of the greatest ways for us as parents is completely practical to shape our kids' perspective of presents around Christmas is to, as a family, give things away to other people. Because then your kids will feel different about that. I think the idea of like fighting against I don't want my kids to feel like Christmas is all about presents. We live in a freaking culture that's built around that. I don't even hate it.
So include in that the giving of presents,
right? So I think
other people.
To make your point, I think it's a great perspective when your mindset is I want to serve people. It kind of rids you of that, or has the potential to rid you of that mindset of ego and self. And unjust expectations.
And it's
which I think that might be the word.
Yeah, unjust expectations. I like it.
One of the big ones that I remember learning a lot in college, and now I encourage young adults with as well, is like Christians get married really young, typically, like stereotypically. And I remember the amount of people while I was in college who spent more time complaining about their friends getting married than rejoicing with their friends getting married, or praying for their friends getting married, or encouraging their friends. And oh, dude, did you hear so-and-so's getting married? Well, I'm never going to find love. And then it becomes this whole, I know, dude, it's almost everybody like had something negative to say about some friend getting married. And I just remember stopping and being like, because I would find those thoughts creeping in as well. And then I'd stop and be like, man, what an exciting time for them. Like,
because it's the comparison. Is that what it is?
Yeah. They're thinking, well, they're getting married at 23. I'm 23. What do I have to show for it? I don't have a relationship. I haven't gone on a date in years. What do I have? And they put all that negativity on that other person and on themselves in the midst of it. And they don't rejoice. They don't pray for the other friend. They don't make it about Christ. They only make it about themselves and their expectations. And a few things happen, which we've touched on as well. I just think this is another layer of practicality for maybe a younger audience, is what people tend to do is they rush into a relationship to get married so they can fill that void or fill that expectation or whatever it is, or they build up resentment between a sister or brother in Christ, right? And so there's all of these negative things that can come from whatever the comparison, the expectation of themselves, the expectations of where they should be in life, all of that. Negative fruit comes from all of it. Instead of saying like, man, I want to rejoice with my brother and sister. I want to pray for my brother and sister. Or if it's a bad situation, I want to get my brother and sister out of there. Like making it about Christ, making it about honoring the Lord, making it about upholding us as brothers and sisters in his body and in his kingdom, as opposed to making it about ourselves, making it about trying to tear the other person down because we don't have what they have. Right. And so
that's it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have what they have.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's all the stuff you're
it's
talking
still
about
unjust
earlier.
expectations. Yeah. I expect myself to have the things they have, or I don't expect others to have more than me.
Right.
So yeah.
One last question for you guys before we go.
Yeah.
Is there a way that you guys can think of, or maybe some practical ways that we could help shape that from, let me put it this way. Let's say, Ryan, you've got a $120,000 truck and you're going to pick up someone for lunch. Is there a way to temper that unjust expectation? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
so what I'm going to have is a license plate that says BTRTHU, better than you.
Yeah.
just so they know it right as I roll up. You know
what I'm saying? Like, are there ways we could approach life? What? As I asked that, it's a stupid question because that's like coddling.
Yeah, because like in that situation, there a lot of people I think breed a level of like false humility. Like people get in the car and say it's even you, or you genuinely mean it, dude. Epic truck. The other person, well, yeah, I mean, I had a good year last year, or this happened, or
I don't need you to justify it. I'm just complimenting your truck.
Exactly, right. So like, I feel like even if we're trying to use your word just now, like coddle the situation, I feel like we're perpetuating the lie, perpetuating
because it's a stupid question.
Well, what I did is I had a guy 2 Sundays ago come up to me. He had visited the church for the first time because we had baptism that day, and a friend of his was getting baptized, so he came to our church. And
he was like, "Man, your arms are so much bigger than Stacy's."
he goes to another church in town, but he was out at our church that day. And he came up to me at the baptism. And he was like, "Man, I would love to know the Bible like you know the Bible." He's like, "Man, it's just so obvious." And I said, "There's not a trick to it. I've done it for 31 years."
Yeah.
I was like, "How long you been a believer?" And he goes, 12 years. I was like, "How long you been in the Word?" And he was like, 6 years, something like that. I was like, "Yeah, give it another 24 years, and then let's talk." I was like, "You're there. Like it's just time. It's just you know what I mean? Like just." Don't go, man, I wish I knew it like you. Just keep doing what you're doing. Keep investing in the scripture.
So there actually is, you're saying, like, actually be encouraging.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. As we interact with people who may have that comparison, we point them to Jesus.
I mean, I think the encouragement's fine. I'm just wondering if it doesn't fit in this conversation though. Like, is the goal to know in his mind, the goal is to know the Bible the way you do?
Yeah, that's not a good goal.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah. That's what I tried to correct him.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, no, you said, let's talk in 24 years.
But I was just like, you just keep doing it. There's not a trick. Just be faithful.
But you still, like, you didn't change the standard.
Yeah, you're right.
I know what you were after. I think what you did is positive. Like, that's an encouragement. I'm just saying in this conversation, I wonder if that's not the way to go.
Yeah.
Do what you did. I'm saying in the conversation of expectations.
Yeah.
scratch my question because I think it's going to get messy. Because I think that
fair enough.
That doesn't work. What you did is fantastic.
Give us a simpler. What's our simpler perspective?
If we find our value and contentment in Jesus, it will find our unjust expectations going by the wayside.
I agree.
Mm-hmm. Me too.
And I love that you said unjust expectations in passing, and that's like what we were looking for at the beginning.
There we go.
Just give it another 24 minutes and we'll
figure
it out.
All right. For those of you listening and watching, this is a topic that I feel like a lot of us tend to grow in or have it be exposed later in life. And there's usually a lot of stories or a lot of growth or a lot of maturity that come around either learning about your personality or your past, like how you grew up, like whatever's shaping those expectations for you. And we know that there's stories of Christ molding us and teaching us out of those situations. And sometimes it's instantaneous, kind of like a head turn. Other times it's like we're being backhanded a lot before we get it. And so we'd love to hear your stories. We'd love to hear where you are, even if this is the first time where you realize oh crud, I'm holding everybody around me to this standard that isn't Christ-like. It's all based off myself. And we'd love to hear how Christ is working you through that. Or if there's the practical aspect or whatever that we didn't touch on, we'd love to hear from you guys. The best way to reach out to us is through our Instagram or through our Facebook at simplerpod. You can find those links down below, as well as our personal pages. If you're interested in what's going on in any of our lives, or at the 456, which we mentioned a lot, or with Simpler Bible, or Micah does a ton with Eagles Wings Disc Golf Ministry. There's all those links down below. Go check all these things out. Get involved where you can get involved. And if you want to get connected and to even give monetarily to Simpler Bible or to Micah's ministry, there's ways to do so as well. Reach out to us, ask questions. There's links down below. And we want to give a huge shout out to Stephen. We love being able to come out to the Garden Audio. Stephen's awesome, and we're so thankful for him that we don't have to worry about the quality of the audio that we do with this podcast. And you guys benefit greatly from that. So wherever
he's got a really nice truck.
And he's got a really nice truck, right? And that's the standard. If you're thankful for Stephen, just say thank you, Stephen, down in the comments below, or leave a review, and just in your review, just beg Stephen made this great. So give Stephen all the love, and wherever you are, go over to YouTube and subscribe. We're trying to get that subscriber count up so we can utilize more resources and AdSense over there on YouTube. You guys are great. We love you. Thank you so much for being a part of the Simpler community. And as always, keep Christ as core. What could be simpler than that? We will catch you next week. Bye.